So this is the Unity Help session, one of the two Unity Help sessions. And today we'll be talking about the mobile AR workshop. And this, of course, is being recorded. And you should bring your laptop, your data cable, and your mobile phone if you want to follow along. Okay, so now without further ado, so here's a brief introduction to AR in Unity. And of course, I know AR is overlaying digital contents into the real world. And so Unity over the years has been changing a lot, and the packages that you're using last year might not work this year, and that's what makes this particularly hard. Because if you find videos that's like 2 years ago and they are clicking some menu options, you probably won't find that there anymore. That's why we are having these help sessions every year so that you guys can have the most up-to-date information. So for AR development, Unity now uses AR Foundation, which you don't need to worry too much about importing it because there's an AR template which we'll use in this tutorial. Okay, and then of course you need either an iPhone or Android. If you want to build for iPhone, you need a Mac. And if you're working on Android phone, you need a Windows PC. And some key components of an AR, I know this doesn't really make sense right now, but just bear with me. So there are AR session, the XR rig, which is a camera, plane detection, which will be pretty crucial, detecting planes on the wall, on the floor, where you can put digital contents. There are facial landmark detection and some object tracking, which we probably won't use in our assignment. Okay, so let's jump right into action. How do we set up the AR app and actually ready to use AR samples in Unity? All right, so here I'm gonna open up Unity Hub. And depending on how you use it before, you probably will see some of your past projects here. But we're gonna go ahead and click New Project and make sure, I think for this class we're using 2022.3. This is the LTS version. Make sure you have the right build, especially if you're using Apple Silicon. You don't want to install the Intel version, which will cause problems when we are trying to deploy this to your iPhone. Okay, and also here I'm gonna be using a mic and an iPhone. Android, the steps will be similar, but with some minor tweaks. If you have questions regarding that, please come to the office hour. Okay, so here among all the templates, we're gonna go with the AR mobile. It will prompt you to download the templates, which I already did. So here I'm gonna name this iPhone AR project. You can really name this anything you want. Application. I generally don't like this to connect to Unity Cloud, but because it sometimes it takes up cloud storage and sometimes mess up version control, I personally prefer just using good old Git. So we're not gonna use Unity version control here. So go ahead and click Create Project. And it'll take a while. And so Unity will automatically open up this sample scene when you load up the template. And you'll see immediately in the scene hierarchy, there's this AR section, which is something that you need for all your VR apps, AR apps, I mean. So technically speaking, I don't really recommend you start any AR scene from scratch. I always recommend making a copy from this sample scene and just get rid of, this is really variable. And take advantage of anything that you can find here and get rid of things that you don't need. Yes?
Sorry, it's
AR mobile.
AR.
Yeah, so the template you need to use, sometimes they're named they're very confusing. Go with AR mobile for this one. And this is the same template that you'll be using in assignment 3. Okay, so once you have this loaded up, and you can play around with what's in this scene. So XR origin, this is, when you see this is typically where the camera is. And if you just click on that, well, you can see the camera's custom. And the actual camera object is actually buried like way in, it's right here. And it also got a little UI, which we'll actually play around with right now. So I'll show you how to deploy this to your mobile phone. So you want to first off plug in your phone. So before we do that, there's actually some prep work we need to do. So first off, make sure that you installed Xcode. Yeah. And also you're running the latest version of the Xcode. And on your iPhone, you should be running the latest version of iOS. Okay, make sure you have. So I'm running 16.2, and on my iPhone, my iOS version I think is 18.2. So make sure everything checks out. And before we actually deploy it and run on our phone, we can actually run this scene in Unity, just within the play mode, which will be very helpful because you can actually test the app out without actually having to deploy it, which can really speed up your workflow. Okay, so yeah, so this is basically a scene simulator that you're looking at here. And you'll see there are planes or dots appearing. Those are detected planes actually. So just think of this as a virtual room. Oh, I spawned an object there, never mind that. So this is the actual app that you're gonna be looking at if you run this on your phone. So if you click continue, where are my buttons? Okay, I'm just gonna restart this because I don't see my buttons. Okay, so if I click continue, I'm missing some of the UI elements that are supposed to show up down there. So just double check where are all the scene buttons. Okay, UI animator. Something's not quite right here. Just gonna. So sometimes when you're debugging, so Unity has a scene view and game view. Sometimes you want to see the two things together. Sometimes it's helpful to just put the game view like right here so you can see the two things at the same time. All right, so it says so something should be showing up on the screen in the game view, but it actually is not. Okay, so you see what's going on here is basically the scene view is showing something tap to place, but it doesn't show up in the game view, which I wonder why. Tap button, if I click that, prompt to place. This is very strange. In Unity, sometimes just run into this weird bugs. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm very sorry about that. Lots of times when you run into this, just delete your project and start a new one sometimes help. So here, I'm just gonna come back to my Unity hub. Oh, it's actually good I'm showing this. And this is another AR project with the same template that I created earlier today. I'm just gonna give this a try. So opening that. All right, let's see if this one works. I have something enabled that shouldn't. Never mind that. And let's see if this one works. Okay, now if I click continue. Oh, no, this one works. See, it's just sometimes Unity is just weird. Delete your project and open a new one, and hopefully you'll get it working. All right, so basically we're in the simulated AR scene, and I can, using my cool finger, basically the scroll gesture on the camera, press down and I can scroll around, and those are all like the detected planes. So this would be the same thing if I were to point my phone's camera to the wall. And what this little sample scene does is basically you can put virtual objects. You can select I want a wedge to be placed on the wall or to be placed on the ground. And here are just some tutorials showing me, yeah, I can drag things around, I can rotate. Not sure if I can really rotate with my touchpad. Or you can, I think you can zoom. Okay, maybe those are gestures that you'll have to do on your phone. All right, and there are also this little delete button. If you select an object, this delete button will show up. Okay, it's a fairly simple and with reasonable amount of stuff going on here in this scene. And if you really want to do a good job in assignment 3, I would highly recommend just go through the hierarchy and understand like where everything is, which we're gonna cover part of today. All right, so now we've run this in the simulator. Let's get back to actually building the thing. All right, so what you want to do is go to File, Build Settings, and here, since in build, this is, so Unity works by scenes. The only thing that we really have is a sample scene, so that's what we're gonna build. And for your build platform, switch it to iOS, and it may ask you to download some additional things, so do that. All right, so, and all of these settings run in Xcode, latest version, blah, blah, blah. So this is, the default is all correct, so I'm just gonna keep with that. So here I'm just gonna click, so there's build and run. So build is just create the build artifacts. You'll see the file on your file system. Build and run will create artifacts and it will invoke Xcode, open it up, and basically ready to deploy it to your iPhone. So here I'm just gonna, for demonstration, close Xcode here because Unity will open that up and click build and run. Then we'll ask you where do you want to keep this. So I have the project called iPhone AR test right here. So these are all the Unity stuff. And I can actually get rid of this for now. This is my previous build. So I can just come here and create a new folder and call it just build. You can really put this anywhere. So choose this, and the build is gonna take some time. Any questions so far? No? Great. All right, so my Xcode has been opened up. Here it actually says that's the name of my phone. You'll probably say the name of your phone here, or it says iPhone or something. All right, so it says build failed. No worries, let's click on this little arrow button and let's see what's going on here. All right, so this is a part many people have issue with. So I'm gonna walk you step by step how to deal with this. It says Unity-iPhone requires a provisioning file. Select a provisioning profile, which this is just an iPhone thing. It requires every app deployed to an iPhone to have a signature, basically knowing who actually made that. So if you haven't already, you need to create a developer team. But before we have that option, first here so here when we click on the arrow, it took us to this Unity iPhone page. And right here it says automatically manage signing. So let's check that and enable automatic. And here you need to put a team. So the team is what you need to register with the Apple developer portal, which I already did. So if you select that, and we'll start to say updating provisioning. All right, so, and we get some new errors. It says fail to register bundle identifier, says the app identifier, blah, 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 which is this bundle identifier, cannot be registered in your development team because it's not available, which make you immediately think if you have a duplicate name or something, but it's actually not that. So this error is caused by this one. No profiles for this name were found. Okay, so the way to deal with this is you need to come back to Unity, go to Edit, Project Settings, and Project Settings right here. Okay, now we need to, there are lots of things going on here, but what we need is go to Player. And now, in your product name, you'll probably have something default. Here, company name, I just put Team Video, ComSW for 172. This doesn't really matter, but the product name is what matters. So let's make sure you copy this name and come back to Xcode. And here, in the bundle identifier, put the same name and click try again. And now it works. It's just a way that Unity and Xcode works together. Okay, and now once you've done that, you can just click on this little play button here, and it will send the app bundle to your iPhone. Oh, and also sometimes you'll run into errors such as the app is from an untrusted source, and if that happens, you need to go to your iPhone settings. Let's go to General, and I believe it's under VPN and Device Management. So here, you'll actually find right here, you can see through my camera. Oops. If you have tried to deploy it to your iPhone and it says untrusted developer, they will show up here. So what you need to do is just go in and click trust developer or something like that. Okay, and once all that is done, you should be able to see this app show up on your iPhone with the same, so the name of the app will be the bundle identifier or the product name back in your Unity project settings player product name. Okay, and if you click that, so I can't really show this through the camera. Oh, hold on a second. Okay, sometimes you'll run into issues. Maybe the deployment wasn't successful. Once you open the app, it will show some kind of a gray screen. And when this happens, don't worry. All you need to do is plug in your iPhone again and click this build button. All right. Now it's working. Okay, so it's an AR app, so it shows my camera. And now if I just, you'll notice this is exactly the same thing that we just saw in the simulator. If you point this to a wall or to a floor, you'll see the same interaction that you have had with the Unity template. Okay. All right, so that covers how to basically setting up an AR mobile template and deploy it to your phone. And the next section, we're gonna make a few changes to the template. Here we're gonna do something interesting. We're gonna change the UI. So this will be another follow along. We're gonna add a button. So right now you can click on each object, and then there'll be like a little waste bucket trash bins icon that shows up, and you can delete that object. So, but instead now we'll be adding a new button that if you click that, it's gonna clear all objects that you have placed. And the spoiler alert, this might well be something that you will need to implement in assignment 3. So bear with me on that. All right, so here we coming back to the Unity. But the thing really is, so we just want to make change to UI, but where is it? So for those who are new to Unity, so in Unity the UI is really, so the user interface, all the buttons and tags and everything is managed by a canvas object. So if you click on this game object called UI, and in the inspector you can see it has a component. So this game object has a component called canvas. You don't need to change any of this. This is basically a container for all the UI elements. Text input field, buttons, icons, labels, whatnot. Okay, and now if we expand that, so Unity's scene is really hierarchical, and it's good to have good organization so you can find where things are. Okay, here, where do we want to put the clear all button? That's a question, right? So for simplicity, I'm just gonna come here. So you see there's a delete button right here, but it's disabled. So you'll see it's grayed out in the hierarchy, and also it's not checked in the inspector. So if we check that, it will show up. And why is it grayed out? Because this button only shows up when you click on, when you select an object. So here's what we're gonna make a copy of this button. We call it delete all button. All right, and this button will always be enabled. Technically, this button should only be enabled if there are any objects in the scene, but just keep it this way for now. So delete button is right there. Let's see. I'm gonna put this delete all button just right across here. All right. It already has this little bucket icon, so I'm just gonna move this up a little bit. So what I did is I expanded this delete all button, and down here it has this icon. Oh, actually, I'm just gonna keep it where it is, and I'm going to add here. If you right click on the delete all button, and under UI you can find text Mesh Pro. I'm gonna add a text to it. I'm gonna call it all text. All right, and here in the inspector, if you select the text, it's gonna call it all here. And really you can put anything you want, but okay, here we're gonna change the size of the text. I'm thinking maybe 8. And really we don't need this huge of a text box, so I can maybe 64, 32. I still see the text. Yes, I do still see the text. And I'm gonna change the color of the text to black, so when it's placed on top of the trash bucket, okay, that looks okay. Make it maybe a little bit smaller. Okay, I'm gonna make it bold, so it's a little bit more visible. So bucket all. All right, so that looks good to me now. Just gonna quickly click on the play button to go to the emulator, so we can see where did we really place this button. Right now, this button has all the same functionalities as a delete button, and if we click on that, probably nothing will happen because it has the same script as the previous delete button, which doesn't do anything if you don't select an object. Speaking of which, here we're gonna add some functionality to it. So let's come back here and take a look at this delete button. So it doesn't really have a callback, as you can see. It doesn't have a like an on-click function attached here, which could well have been its on-click callback is only added during the runtime. So we're not gonna worry about that. So here. All right, so under UI, and you can really put this script anywhere, but I'm just gonna put it under UI to keep it organized. And I'm gonna call it my UI manager. So, and it is in here where we'll create a callback function when we click the delete all button. All right, now the script is added. By default, when you add a new script, Unity automatically creates this script under the root folder of your project. So, right, if you come back to your project, yeah, my UI manager is right there. And if you double click this, in my case, it will open JetBrains Writer, which is my preferred IDE. And if you want to use, which I also highly recommend because it makes debugging just a whole lot easier with its integrated debugger. So, but just in case you're using some other IDE or you want to switch between IDEs, here's how you do it. So on Mac, you'll go to Unity Settings. On Windows, you'll go to Edit Preferences. Okay, so here, once I'm here, I'm gonna click on External Tools. And here you'll find the external script editor. And in my case, I have either Visual Studio Code or JetBrains Writer. And normally, every app or code editor you install will automatically show up here. And if not, you can just browse your computer for it. Okay? Yeah. So there are multiple ways to add script. The fastest way is probably go to your project. So here are in your files, you can right-click and go to Create C# script. But this, if you do that, you'll need to drag the script attached to your object again. So a shorthand way of doing it is click the object that you want to add script on, and scroll, and in the inspector, scroll all the way down, click Add Component, and just type in whatever name you want to name your script. So if I type in my script, yeah. If it's not like one of those default Unity stuff, then Unity will think, oh, you want a script. You just click New Script, confirm the name, and it will create. And we'll create it in the root folder, and will automatically be attached to the object. Sounds good? Okay, so now, so I have this open. So I would assume, because we are at the very beginning of the semester, everybody is new to Unity. So maybe I'm over-explaining things for those of you who are already pretty familiar, but please bear with me. I want to make sure everybody can follow. All right, so here we go. So one thing you'll immediately notice is Unity has already written something for you. So all of this you don't want to change. You definitely need all those namespaces. And another thing you'll notice is the name of the class is called MyUIManager, the same as your file name. And this is very important because in C#, C# is an object-oriented language, just like Java. So in C#, the name of your class must be the same as your file name. Otherwise, it won't work. And you can only declare one class per file. And you can declare subclasses within classes, but top-level class name has to be the same with the file name. Okay, and Unity created basically two functions here. There's a start function and there's an update function. So what are these? So the start function as the comment suggests, is called before the first frame update. And update is called once per frame. So immediately you know those are override functions that are Unity just provide to you. So for example, if I want to print something, I would just go debug.log and just call it test. All right, and save that and come back to Unity. So Unity automatically loads the assemblies from any changed script. So every time you go from a code editor back to Unity, Unity will stutter for a while. That's completely normal. So now if you click, oh, there's a compiler error. Debug does not have a definition for log. Probably I used it wrong. Okay, this should be, that's my bad. It should have been this log. Cactus. All right, coming back here. And of course, you'll notice if there are compile errors in your code, Unity won't let you to start the play mode. And once you fix all the compile errors, come back to Unity, you should see that error gone. Let's clear all the warnings, and let's click run. And we're getting a bunch of prints. And here you'll see this never increasing. And why? Because the update function is called every frame, and there are lots of frames. So Unity has many of these built-in functions that you can override to have things happen at a certain point, before a frame update, during a frame update, or after a frame update. So if you want to learn more of what are the override functions that you could call, so there's a very helpful graph. So that I will also drop the link in the discussion thread. So here it is. So this is in the Unity manual. I'm just gonna switch to the version that we're actually using. All right. So order of execution for event functions. So you'll see, so all of this, initialization, awake, on enable, reset, start. So start is actually what was provided in that script. You'll also see there are something that happens before the start. So for example, on enable calls when an object is enabled and disabled. So it's basically it's grayed out and now it's on. And that function will be called when that state is changed. And if you want to override that function, very easy, you'll just void on enable. Okay? Okay, so we're not actually going to use that for this example. Right. And also we have lots of update, different type of update functions. So we have update, which is what you just saw, and we also have a late update, which is after many of the game objects like animation and blah, 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 which you probably don't need to worry too much about. And we also have some decommissioning stuff like on disable, on actually quit, on destroy, some of which you'll probably run into. But if you want to know more about a specific event function, you can just look it up and we'll tell you like, when this is called and what type of things typically you should use for specific event function. Okay, so let me close that. And before we go further, I know there's always this debate of whether you should use large language model for programming classes. But my thinking has always been, so it's almost like, auto-correction on steroids. And there are folks, like very old folks, who don't even like to use modern text editor, which automatically corrects spell for you. But I'm of the mind that you should use any tool that's available to you to maximize your productivity. But then, of course, if you're writing something completely new, I wouldn't recommend that you have no idea how to write. I wouldn't recommend using LLM, just for the reason because you cannot check if that's actually correct. So, but if you're writing some boilerplate stuff that you already know how to do, but it's just a drag to get it done, I don't see a point why not using ChatGPT or things of that nature. So within Writer, there's actually a plugin that you can get to have the code use OpenAI's API calls to do auto code completion. So the one that I like to use is GitHub Copilot. So to have this installed, you can go to plugins. So in JetBrains Writer, if you want to do a search everywhere, settings code or things of that nature, just double click Shift, and this will take you to, and I just type in plugins. All right, and here I'm gonna just look for, no, not you, in plugins, Copilot. Yeah, GitHub Copilot. All right, looks like I need to update this. And for you, this would show up like install or something. And once you have this installed, it will probably ask you to register your GitHub account, which, if I remember right, you'll need a GitHub Pro account, which you can get through your Columbia email. All right, so now I have that updated. Just gonna click Restart IDE, which with that Copilot enabled, that should make our life a whole lot easier. So sometimes when you restart IDE, if you open the script from Unity, it will not reopen the project. So if you are developing Unity stuff, always open your script or open your IDE from Unity, because otherwise the two process might not be properly linked together and you cannot debug your stuff. All right, so here I need to open Writer again. Just coming back to UI, my UI manager, double click that. Alrighty, back install. Oops. project is open. So please close and reopen through Unity editor or by window. Okay, here. JetBrains Writer is saying something that we are actually not open this as a Unity project. So this is a bummer. So how we are gonna do this is basically close that, and here in Unity we're gonna go to Package Manager and install that JetBrains plugin, so we get all the nice benefits that this IDE has to offer. So I'm just gonna type in here Jet Writer, Unity registry. So I just changed the thing from in project. Of course, maybe I don't have that installed to Unity registry, and let's see if that's somewhere here. Writer. Oh, JetBrains Writer. Indeed, I don't have it installed. Just click the install button. This should be pretty quick. Okay, so now that's done. Now, okay, let's come back to the UI. We did all of that, and double click my UI manager. All right, and now a window shows up. This is JetBrains Writer. It says, do I want to open this as a solution? Of course I do. And immediately you'll notice a few things different here. If you notice, before this was like a folder, but now it shows the Unity icon, which means this thing is properly attached to the Unity editor, and it also has an option to attach to the Unity editor for debugging. This is like extremely helpful. Okay, but now we need to come back and do this delete all button. All right, so how are we gonna approach this? So you're in this new project and we want to add this delete all button. So we want to delete all the objects that has been spawned by clicking, right? So first thing you want to do is go to the play mode and let's find out where are the objects spawned to, and actually what script is spawning those objects, because most likely we'll need to find all the objects that have been spawned. Oh, I still have that test being printed. So I can get rid of this line right now, but Unity has sometimes has weird issues with how editing code, meaning if you have play mode going on and you edit your code, you save it, because Unity will want to compile, ingest all the assemblies once you edit your code. So sometimes Unity will just crash if you edit your code while play mode is still going on. So I'm just gonna very quickly close play mode here, get rid of that. Come back to Unity, it should say compiling, reloading domain, because I changed the code. Okay. Now I'm gonna go ahead and click play again. Okay, so now that's printing. Oops, I think I clicked it twice by accident. Alrighty, here we go. So now let's see, when we click on any surface, okay, there's an object showed up, but we don't really see this object in the hierarchy. If we want to delete it, we better know where it actually is in the hierarchy. So I'm gonna come back to the scene, and in the scene, I'm gonna find here, search for anything that's called a cube. A cube variant, that looks like it. So close that, so it's not all white. And click, oh, there it is. Now how do we know this is indeed the cube? I can place a game window here. And sometimes Unity, it shows all these gizmos that you don't really need, like this AR goggle thing. You can get rid of this by go to this upper right-hand corner here and click that, and this will hide all the stuff like those goggles and just icons. It's part of Unity editor. All right, now I'm just gonna move around this thing because this is synchronize the scene and the game field. Move this around, and indeed that is our cube. Looks like it is being spawned under object spawner. Okay, all right. So, and now this becomes easy. We just need to, in our script, in our callback function for the delete all button, we'll just go ahead and find all the children under object spawner, and we would delete all those children. All right, stop the play mode, and you'll see that cube is gone. So Unity doesn't save anything while you're in play mode. So sometimes you may be tempted to make edits in the scene while in play mode, but just so you know, nothing will be saved. Just keep that in mind. Okay, now come back to our script. So there's a few things we need to do. I'm just going to put Unity right here for either navigation. All right. So first off, we need to find a reference to the object spawn. So how we are going to go about doing that? So we're going to say we have a public field, game object, and let's call it object spawner. Okay, so there's a few things going on here. First off, making it public, what will that do? So in any Unity script, if you declare a public field, and you come back to the editor, and we're just waiting for the code to compile. All right, come back to the editor, and let's look at that script in the object to which it's attached. All you'll see that we have this public field appear here because it's called object spawner. And it says none because we don't have anything in it. It's just being declared. Doesn't have a value yet. Okay. And second of all, it's called a game object. So in Unity, everything in the scene, in the hierarchy, is a game object. And then you ask what makes a camera camera. For example, that's because if you click on the camera, this game object called main camera has a component named camera. So that's what's making this a camera. And even this UI component is named UI, but it has a canvas component. That's what makes this the GUI that you're able to see. And now it also has our manager attached to it. And we have this object spawn. And we need to really have this object spawner to reference this object spawner. And the way to do it is easy, is you click, you go back to where my UI manager is, and you will drag this object spawner onto right there. Yeah. And this can work because we declare this thing as a game object. So this field is expecting a game object. So I'm just going to show this as an example here. However, instead, if you do, for example, if you do something like a camera, and then we can call this main camera, and come back to Unity here. So I'm just showing this as an example. And right down there, so it's expecting a camera object now. And now if you drag the object spawner, the same thing, it won't allow you. But if you drag anything that has a camera component, like this one, the main camera game object has a camera component, this will work. So, oops. Yeah. And that's basically how referencing object in the scene works in Unity. So I'm just gonna get rid of this. And in here, I'm gonna add a callback function, make it public, so that it can be referenced by that button. So click delete all objects. All right, I already have some auto completion going on, and now I'm just gonna say first thing is to find all children of object spawner. And here, the auto completion already does it. So let's understand what's going on here. So this is iterating all the children in object spawner. So believe it or not, in Unity, the way that you find all the children of a game object is by iterating its transform. But in this case, what you get for the children, the type for them is a transform. It's not a game object, and you cannot delete a transform. A transform is, you probably have guessed it, is another component of the object. So if we click on the object spawner or any game objects for that sake, just waiting for this to compile. Okay, actually any non-canvas, it will have a transform which basically describes its position, rotation, and scale. All right, so we have this function defined, and now we need to trigger this function when you click the delete all button. So here we'll click on the delete all button, and it has a component called button, and it has a list of callbacks for its onClick event. Okay, so I'm gonna click that add button there to add a new function or callback, and I'm gonna drag that UI component down here because my UI manager is attached to the UI game object. Okay, and now we have this function. We need to select here under my UI manager, and let's find onClick delete all objects. Okay, so that is your function right here. All right, now this really should work. Give it a try in the play mode. Alrighty, so we have play mode on the side. Continue. I'm gonna detect the planes, otherwise we can't place things. Just gonna go ahead and put one or two things here, and if I click delete all, they're all gone. So nice and easy. All right, and now just to polish this up, you probably don't want this delete all button to be hanging around here all the time. You only want this to show up when there's at least one object in the scene. And how do you constantly check for this? Well, a more elegant way you could do is whenever an object is placed via the object spawner, you would basically call an update to update what's going on in the UI, my UI manager, but that's a more involved process. So here we're just gonna do a simple way, and maybe if we're gonna have another help session, I'll show you how to create Unity events, which is a more elegant way of doing it. So right now we're just gonna, in our each update function, we're gonna check how many children are in the object spawner. How many children? Child count. Okay, so the auto completion already does it. And if the count is greater than 0, we don't need any of that. We're gonna hide the delete all button. And now we need a reference to the delete all button. So same thing here, we'll create another variable, call it game object delete all object button. Okay, save over here. Yeah, I'm sorry, the text may be very small. Zoom in a little bit. Okay, I think it has compiled. All right, so here back into our UI, I'm gonna put the delete all button, drag again into delete all button, the public field that we just added. All right, now, so if the count is greater than 0, we're gonna say set active is true and else it's not active. All right, so that should work. All right, now we're in this thing again, and you'll see the delete all button is gone. And if you check in the hierarchy, it is indeed disabled. See, it's not checked now. Right, now if we just click continue and let's select an object to place and fill in pyramid. And now if we place an object, that button shows up. And put another one here. And I think I accidentally clicked that and may have a very large trigger box. Never mind that. Okay, and now if we manually delete each of the item, that button is gone. And if we just use that button to delete all, that is gone as well. Okay. All right, cool. So we implemented the delete all button. And that will be it for today. We've been talking for more than 1 hour, which is pretty long by YouTube standard. So we'll wrap up, and I'll upload this video on Ed. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to come to the office or post on a discussion. Thank you so much.